What's up, everybody? It's Kovarks here, back on the Kovarks Sports channel, and today we are going to be giving you our predictions for the Cincinnati Bearcats in 2021. Last year, they had a tremendous season. They went 9-1, 8-0 in the regular season. They won the American Championship against Tulsa and took Georgia to the final seconds in the Peach Bowl. While they did lose that game, it was quite obvious this is a really solid team. And they returned some key parts this year. They returned wide receivers Alec Pierce and Michael Young Jr., as well as their star quarterback Desmond Ridder is his senior season. He should have a great season. They also returned quite a bit on defense, including a lot of their linebackers and their cornerbacks. So overall, they should be able to really have a tremendous season. And their schedule allows them, if they run the table, go 13-0. Assuming we don't have like 4 conference Power 5 champions that are all undefeated, they would make the playoff most likely, but they have to run the table. However, it can happen, and none of these games are impossible for Cincinnati. So we'll get into the schedule here in a second. Before we get to that, I do want to say that I have a brand new podcast channel. The link will be in the description if you like college football. I assume you do if you're watching this video. You should really like that podcast. It's with my good friend Brevical, and we're just going to talk about college football each week of the season. We have a trailer over there, and the first episode may be out depending on when you're watching this and when I upload this, because I do pre-record these. Let's go ahead and get into the schedule. Looking here, we see they start off with Miami of Ohio on the first game. That should be a pretty easy win. I believe Miami is an okay MAC team, but Cincinnati's a top 10 team, and it's at home. I don't think there's going to be much of a chance for the Red Hawks. I think Cincinnati takes care of business as well with Murray State before going into one of their biggest games of the season at Indiana. Indiana, they're really good last year. They're going to be really solid this year, depending on how they do early on in the season, because they start at Iowa. They may not be ranked as high, which could potentially lead to Cincinnati overlooking them for their big game that could change their program against Notre Dame in 2 weeks. You really can't look Indiana, you can't overlook them. They could be just as good as Notre Dame. It's on the road. I still think that Indiana's going to be really solid. They have Michael Penix again. I think Indiana gets the Bearcats. They're just looking a bit too much at Notre Dame. I don't see them running the table just because of how hard it is. I know a lot of people are going to say it's more likely Cincinnati beats Indiana than Notre Dame. I don't think so. I just think they buckle under pressure. Indiana is nearly as good, and they may be looking ahead to Notre Dame. They do get a bye week, which it is kind of a poor placement because it's so early on. However, it's before Notre Dame, which is their biggest game. I think they'll be able, with the bye week, to put the Indiana game behind them, focus on Notre Dame. And I'm still on the fence about this one, but I think between the two, they will win one. And because they get a bye week, the reason why I think they'll lose to Indiana is because they're looking ahead to Notre Dame. I think they're able to get it done, and they split those 2 huge games. If they win both of them, I think they'll go to the playoff. If they lose both, it'll be an okay season. They'll probably still be in the top 10. At the end of the season when we go into the postseason. But I also think they beat Temple. I know it's a Friday night game and some teams struggle with those, but it's at home. Temple shouldn't be great. I think they went like 1-6 or something last year. They didn't have a great season, so Cincinnati should be able to win that one before playing UCF at home. That's another big game. They've got Indiana, Notre Dame, Temple. It should be an easier game, but then UCF. That's going to be a big game. You want to be careful. UCF only lost by a score at the Bounce House last year. But I think that's the difference. This time it's in Cincinnati The crowd's going to be rocking. They're probably in the top 10 with a win over Notre Dame. I think they get it done, and they move to 5-1 before having a pair of road games against Navy and Tulane. These two teams are going to be pretty solid. Navy, I know, wasn't great last year. I don't know that much about them, but typically they're pretty decent. Still, I think Cincinnati's just too good. I think they'll take care of business there. And then against Tulane, I know the Green Wave have a lot coming back. The FPI had them ranked in the top 25. I think they may have had them higher than UCF. That's a questionable pick, but this Tulane team does return a lot. They should be pretty good. It is on the road. It's really close. But I still like Cincinnati because it isn't before any big game like UCF, Notre Dame, Indiana. But it is before Tulsa, and we'll get into that game right now. Tulsa was really good last year, but I believe they did lose quite a bit. It's at home. If it was on the road, maybe I'd think about switching this, but I think that's enough for them to get another win. They'll now be on a 6-game win streak before playing South Florida. This South Florida team was really good just a few years ago. They were challenging UCF. It looked like they were a really solid team, but they have fallen hard. They're just in a rough time, and even though it's on the road, I think Cincinnati, they'll get a pretty big win here and maybe rack up a lot of points. Now they're the same record as they were last year before playing SMU. SMU, kind of like Tulane, they return a lot. They could be a really good team. I think SMU may be better than Tulane, but this one's at home. It's close to the end of the season, but I still think it being at home, that's enough for Cincinnati to take care of business. And then they have Eastern Carolina on the road. The Pirates aren't great. They've had some rough seasons. Last year they went, I believe, 3-6. So they've been kind of up and down, but I don't think they're near good enough to play Cincinnati. I think they'll take care of business there. So now you look at 11-1, and we're going to tack on an extra part of this video. We're going to go ahead and predict the American Championship. Because of how things have went, I've not had enough time to go through the American or some other Group of 5 conferences, but I can tell you this, I was going to have Cincinnati winning the American. So we'll tack that on here. I have Cincinnati going 12-1 and winning their conference. You'll see shortly within the next week or so, but assuming I'm on schedule and this comes out at the right time, but that should mean that Cincinnati is good enough to get back to a New Year's Six Bowl with a 12-1 record. They're only lost to Indiana, but they still beat UCF and Notre Dame, and they win the American. I have Cincinnati going 12-1 in 2021. Let me know down below how you think the Bearcats will do. Do you think they'll win the American? Do you think they will make the New Year's Six and be that Group of 5 team that gets in? Let me know down below. I want to thank you all very much for watching this video. Make sure to check out my podcast down below. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Take care. Bye.